Have you ever wondered who the voice in your head really is? The one that never stops commenting, judging, and replaying moments from your life? What if I told you that voice isn't you, and freeing yourself from it could lead to a life of clarity and peace? The voice in your head is one of the most persistent and influential forces in your life. It narrates your experiences, comments on your actions, and judges the world around you. But have you ever stopped to consider what this voice actually is? Most people live their entire lives assuming that this voice is their true self, their identity, the core of who they are. Yet this assumption is the root of much of the inner turmoil and unrest we experience. The truth is, this voice is not you. It is simply a habit of the mind, a mechanism that has developed over time to help you navigate the world. This inner voice is not inherently malicious. In fact, it initially evolved as a survival tool, allowing humans to plan, reflect, and analyze situations. But over time it has taken on a life of its own. Instead of being a useful tool, it has become a relentless chatterbox, filling your mind with thoughts, judgments, fears, and comparisons. It often amplifies insecurities and keeps you trapped in cycles of overthinking, creating a wall between you and the simplicity of just living. When you listen closely, you'll notice that this voice is rarely silent. It is reactive, constantly interpreting everything around you. A casual remark from someone can trigger a flood of thoughts about your worth or value. A moment of quiet can quickly be interrupted by a memory from the past or a worry about the future. This voice is not a neutral observer. It colors every experience, adding layers of interpretation that may not even align with reality. The voice also thrives on judgment. It categorizes things into good or bad, right or wrong, desirable or undesirable. This constant evaluation keeps you in a state of tension, as you feel the need to align yourself with the right thoughts, actions, or outcomes. You become entangled in a web of self-criticism and doubt, believing that this running commentary is the voice of wisdom, when it is often just a reflection of past conditioning and fears. The most significant illusion of the inner voice is its claim to be you. It speaks as though it is the essence of who you are, making you believe that your thoughts define your identity. But if you pause and observe, you'll realize that you are not the voice, you are the one who hears it. This realization creates a profound shift. It separates you from the constant noise and opens the door to inner freedom. This doesn't mean the voice will disappear. It's not about silencing it completely, but rather understanding its nature and learning to observe it without getting swept away. When you stop identifying with the voice, it begins to lose its power over you. You start to see it for what it truly is, a stream of conditioned thoughts passing through your mind. By recognizing the nature of the inner voice, you take the first step toward reclaiming your peace. You no longer need to argue with it, fight it, or take its judgments personally. Instead, you become a quiet observer, watching the thoughts as they come and go, knowing that they do not define you. This realization brings with it a newfound sense of clarity. When the voice no longer dominates your attention, you begin to experience life more fully. You notice the beauty in simple moments, the richness of the present, and the vast stillness that exists beneath the mental noise. You start to live not from the voice in your head, but from the stillness of your true self. You are not your thoughts, emotions, or the endless chatter that fills your mind. You are the observer, the silent presence that witnesses everything. This realization is simple, yet it holds the power to completely transform the way you experience life. Most people go through life entirely identified with their thoughts, believing that every judgment, every fear, and every story their mind tells is who they are. But this belief is an illusion, one that traps you in cycles of stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. The truth is, you are not the noise, you are the awareness behind it. As the observer, you are the one who notices the rise and fall of emotions. You see how joy comes like a wave, only to be replaced by sadness, anger, or peace. Emotions are fleeting, yet they often feel so permanent when you're in their grip. But when you take a step back, you begin to notice that emotions pass through you like weather patterns. You, the observer, remain unchanged. This realization allows you to hold space for your feelings without being consumed by them. The same is true of your thoughts. The mind is a restless storyteller, constantly spinning narratives about the past, present, and future. It tells you who you are, what you should fear, and what you should want. But if you take a moment to watch your thoughts instead of engaging with them, you'll notice something remarkable. They arise on their own and disappear just as quickly. You don't control them, and they certainly don't control you when you realize you are the observer. This awareness is your sanctuary. It's the quiet place within you that is untouched by the chaos of the mind. Even in the most challenging situations, this space remains still and calm. When you identify with this stillness, you begin to see the world differently. Life's ups and downs no longer throw you off balance, because you know that your true self is beyond the temporary nature of thoughts and emotions. Being the observer doesn't mean disconnecting from life. On the contrary, it allows you to engage with life more fully. When you are not consumed by your mental stories, you become present in a way that most people never experience. You notice the beauty in ordinary moments, the depth in conversations, and the wonder in simply being alive. You are no longer living through a filter of mental judgments and comparisons. You are simply here, now. This awareness also brings a sense of freedom. The stories your mind tells, the ones about not being good enough, not being loved, or not being successful, lose their power. They are just thoughts, nothing more. You can watch them come and go without believing them, and in doing so, you free yourself from their grip. You realize that your worth is not tied to these stories, but is inherent in your very being. As the observer, you also begin to see others differently. When you are no longer caught up in your own mental noise, you can truly listen and connect with others. You see them not as their behaviors or words, but as beings who, like you, are navigating their own inner landscapes. This creates compassion and understanding, breaking down the walls that separate us. The practice of observing transforms every aspect of life. It is not about escaping reality, but embracing it with clarity and calm. You become less reactive, more intentional, and deeply at peace. You begin to realize that while the world around you may change, the essence of who you are, the observer, remains steady, unshaken, and eternally present. This awareness is your anchor, your refuge, and your truest self. Reality, as we perceive it, is not as solid or definitive as we often assume. It is shaped by our thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and perceptions, creating an experience that feels tangible yet is entirely subjective. Each of us lives in a version of reality constructed within our minds, colored by our past experiences, cultural influences, and personal interpretations. What we call reality is not a fixed truth, but a reflection of how we see the world. This insight opens a door to question everything we take for granted about our existence. Our senses play a crucial role in creating this illusion. What we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell gives us the impression of a world outside of ourselves, but these senses are limited. They interpret only a fraction of what exists. For instance, the human eye can perceive only a narrow spectrum of light, yet we believe what we see is all there is. Similarly, sound waves beyond our hearing go unnoticed. What we perceive is only a sliver of the infinite, yet we treat it as the whole. The mind takes this sensory input and assigns meaning to it, creating stories and labels. A tree is not just a tree, it becomes beautiful or ugly, useful or unnecessary depending on how the mind interprets it. These labels are not reality, they are constructs of thought. When we believe in them without question, we fall deeper into the illusion, mistaking our interpretations for the truth. Even time, which feels so real and linear, is part of this illusion. We measure our lives in hours. The present moment is the foundation upon which life unfolds, yet it is often the most overlooked and undervalued aspect of our existence. Our minds are constantly pulled between the weight of the past and the uncertainties of the future, leaving little room for the richness of now. In truth, life is not something that happens yesterday or tomorrow, it is always happening here and now. This moment, fleeting and dynamic, holds all the power and possibility we need to transform our experiences and deepen our understanding of existence. We live in a world that glorifies multitasking and forward planning, encouraging us to chase goals and dwell on regrets. But in doing so, we lose touch with the immediacy of life. The present moment is not a stepping stone to something greater, it is the only space where life truly exists. When we anchor ourselves in the now, we begin to notice its depth and beauty, a beauty that is often obscured by our preoccupations and distractions. The mind, with its constant chatter and analysis, tends to pull us away from the present. It relives past hurts or rehearses future fears, tricking us into believing that these mental projections are more significant than the moment at hand. But this is an illusion. The past and future exist only as thoughts, they have no tangible presence. The present, however, is alive, vibrant, and filled with potential, waiting for us to embrace it fully. When we bring our awareness to the present, even the simplest things take on new meaning. The sound of the wind, the warmth of the sun, the rhythm of our breath all become vivid and profound. This shift in focus allows us to break free from the tyranny of overthinking and step into a space of clarity and peace. It is in this space that we can truly see the world as it is, unfiltered by judgment or expectation. Being present is not about ignoring the past or neglecting the future. It is about recognizing that the only point of power we have is in the now. The actions we take, the thoughts we entertain, and the emotions we nurture in this moment ripple outward, shaping the course of our lives. By grounding ourselves in the present, we align with the flow of life and open ourselves to its endless possibilities. This awareness of the present moment is not something we need to acquire, it is something we already have but often overlook. Children embody this naturally, experiencing life with a sense of wonder and presence. As adults, we can reconnect with this state by practicing mindfulness, paying attention to the here and now without judgment. Through mindfulness, we rediscover the richness and fullness of life that is always available to us. Living in the present moment also fosters a deeper connection with others. When we are fully present, we listen with our hearts, not just our ears. We engage with authenticity and compassion, creating meaningful bonds that transcend superficial interactions. Presence allows us to truly see and be seen, fostering relationships built on trust and understanding. The present moment is also a gateway to inner peace. When we stop resisting what is and accept the reality of now, we find a profound sense of contentment. This does not mean we stop striving for growth or improvement. Rather, it means we approach life from a place of acceptance and awareness. From this grounded state, we can navigate challenges with greater ease and resilience. Ultimately, the present moment is the key to unlocking the fullness of life. It is the space where we experience joy, growth, and transformation. By learning to live in the now, we free ourselves from the burdens of the past and the anxieties of the future. We step into the flow of life, where every moment is an opportunity to awaken to our true nature and embrace the beauty of existence. Silence is one of the most profound and transformative experiences we can encounter. It is more than just the absence of noise, it is a doorway to inner freedom. In a world dominated by constant activity and endless distractions, silence offers a sanctuary, a place where we can reconnect with our essence and rediscover the depth of our being. In the stillness, we find clarity, perspective, and a profound sense of peace that cannot be found amidst the chaos of everyday life. The modern world has conditioned us to fear silence. We fill our days with chatter, noise, and ceaseless activity, believing that productivity and busyness are the measures of a meaningful life. Yet, in this pursuit, we often overlook the power of stillness. Silence is not a void, it is a presence. It is the space where the mind quiets and the heart opens. It is where we meet ourselves without pretense or distraction, and in that meeting we discover a deeper truth. In silence, we confront the thoughts and emotions we often suppress or avoid. Initially, this can be uncomfortable as the mind resists stillness, seeking the familiar chaos of activity. But as we stay present, silence reveals itself as a compassionate teacher. It allows us to observe our inner landscape without judgment, to witness the ebb and flow of thoughts and emotions, and to recognize that we are not defined by them. This realization is the foundation of true inner freedom. Silence connects us to a dimension of ourselves that is often overshadowed by the noise of daily life. It is the space where intuition flourishes and creativity emerges. In the absence of external distractions, our inner voice becomes clearer, guiding us toward choices and actions that align with our true nature. Silence, then, is not an escape from life, but a means of engaging with it more authentically and deeply. One of the greatest gifts of silence is its ability to ground us in the present moment. When we embrace silence, we step out of the constant stream of mental chatter that pulls us into the past or projects us into the future. We become fully present, attuned to the subtle rhythms of life unfolding around and within us. This presence fosters a sense of wholeness and contentment, reminding us that peace is always accessible, regardless of external circumstances. Silence also enhances our relationships. When we approach others with a silent mind, free from assumptions and distractions, we truly listen. This kind of listening, rooted in presence, fosters deep understanding and connection. It allows us to communicate with authenticity and compassion, creating space for genuine intimacy and trust. Silence, in this way, becomes a bridge that unites rather than separates. The freedom found in silence is not dependent on external conditions. It is an inner state that we can access at any time. By cultivating moments of stillness in our daily lives, we create a sanctuary within ourselves that remains untouched by the turbulence of the outside world. Whether through meditation, mindful breathing, or simply pausing to observe the world around us, silence becomes a refuge, a place of renewal and strength. In the silence, we discover the impermanence of all things. We see how thoughts, emotions, and sensations arise and pass away, leaving us with the realization that we are not bound by them. This understanding frees us from the grip of attachment and aversion, allowing us to move through life with grace and equanimity. Silence, then, is not merely the absence of sound, it is the presence of freedom. Silence invites us to align with the rhythm of life itself. In its embrace, we find not only peace but also power, the power to transform our perspective, to transcend our limitations, and to reconnect with the essence of who we are. It is in silence that we touch the infinite, realizing that true freedom lies not in escaping the world but in embracing it fully, with an open heart and a quiet mind. Observing thoughts without attachment is a practice that opens the door to inner peace and freedom. It teaches us that we are not the thoughts that arise in our minds, but rather the awareness that observes them. In our daily lives, the mind generates a continuous stream of thoughts, some joyful, some troubling, some trivial, and we often become entangled in this mental activity, mistaking it for who we are. However, by learning to observe these thoughts without attaching to them, we can break free from this cycle and access a deeper sense of clarity and calm. Thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky. They come and go, shifting and changing, but they do not alter the vastness of the sky itself. Similarly, we are the sky, unchanging, spacious, and constant, while thoughts are the fleeting phenomena that move through us. When we identify with these thoughts, we lose sight of our true nature and become swept away by emotions and reactions. But when we observe them without attachment, we remain grounded, recognizing them for what they are: temporary mental events. The practice of non-attachment to thoughts is not about suppressing or rejecting them. It is about creating space between the observer and the observed. This space allows us to see thoughts as they are, without judgment or resistance. Whether the thought is positive or negative, observing it without attachment means acknowledging its presence without clinging to it or pushing it away. This simple yet profound act of observation can dissolve the power that thoughts hold over us. Often we attach to thoughts because we believe they define us. We hold on to memories, beliefs, and fears, weaving them into a narrative about who we are. But these mental constructs are not the essence of our being. Observing thoughts without attachment reveals the impermanence of these narratives and reminds us that our true self exists beyond the stories the mind creates. This realization is liberating, freeing us from the need to control or fixate on every thought. Non-attachment to thoughts also helps us navigate difficult emotions. Emotions are often fueled by repetitive thinking patterns, and when we attach to these patterns, we amplify the intensity of the emotion. By observing the thoughts driving the emotion without becoming entangled, we can allow the emotion to rise and fall naturally. This approach doesn't suppress what we feel, but rather honors it, creating a healthier relationship with our emotional world. The act of observing thoughts without attachment sharpens our awareness of the present moment. When we are no longer caught up in the content of our thoughts, we become more attuned to the richness of the here and now. Life unfolds with greater clarity and vibrancy as we shift our focus from the mind's chatter to the direct experience of living. This presence enables us to engage with life more fully and authentically. One of the greatest benefits of this practice is the cultivation of inner peace. When we observe thoughts without attachment, we free ourselves from the mental tug-of-war that creates stress and anxiety. The mind becomes quieter, and in this stillness we discover a sense of peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. This peace becomes a steady anchor, even in the midst of life's challenges. Observing thoughts without attachment also deepens our understanding of others. As we become less reactive to our own thoughts, we develop greater empathy and patience for the thoughts and behaviors of those around us. We begin to see others not as their thoughts or actions, but as individuals navigating their own inner struggles. This shift in perspective fosters compassion and strengthens our relationships. The freedom that arises from observing thoughts without attachment is transformative. It allows us to step back from the constant stream of mental activity and realize that we are not prisoners of our minds. Instead, we are the conscious awareness that watches the mind, an awareness that is boundless, serene, and inherently free. By embracing this practice, we align with the natural flow of life and uncover a profound sense of liberation that has always been within us. Emotions are powerful forces that often appear to overwhelm us, but they are, in reality, temporary visitors. Just like clouds passing through the sky, emotions come and go. They are not permanent states, yet we tend to treat them as if they define who we are. When we attach our identity to a particular emotion, we begin to believe that we are sad, angry, or anxious, when in fact, those feelings are just passing experiences. By viewing emotions as temporary visitors, we shift our perspective and create space between ourselves and the feelings we encounter. Every emotion, no matter how intense or consuming, is bound to eventually dissipate. This realization can bring comfort in moments of difficulty, as we understand that the emotion we are experiencing right now is not a permanent fixture in our lives. It is important to remember that emotions are not inherently good or bad, they simply exist. They are the mind's response to internal or external stimuli. When we cease to identify with them, we free ourselves from the grip they have on our well-being. Often we try to suppress or avoid negative emotions, fearing their intensity. However, when we resist or fight against emotions, we only strengthen their hold on us. Emotions need space to flow through us. By allowing them to come and go without resistance, we release the tension they create and return to a state of equilibrium. Emotions, in their essence, are natural reactions to life's experiences, and by acknowledging them as temporary visitors, we cease to give them power over our lives. The key to this practice is awareness. We must learn to recognize emotions as they arise without immediately reacting to them. This awareness allows us to observe the emotion without judgment or attachment. Instead of being swept away by the intensity of the feeling, we can simply witness it and let it pass. This awareness creates a sense of distance between ourselves and the emotion, preventing us from getting lost in it. In moments of emotional intensity, it is crucial to remember that emotions are not a reflection of our true selves. We are the observer, the conscious awareness that is present regardless of the emotions we may feel. By understanding that emotions are temporary, we begin to see that we are not defined by them. The emotion may feel all-encompassing in the moment, but it is not our essence. Our true nature is far greater than any fleeting emotion. When we recognize emotions as temporary visitors, we can begin to develop a healthier relationship with them. Instead of reacting impulsively or allowing emotions to dictate our actions, we can observe them with curiosity and compassion. This practice does not require us to suppress or deny our feelings, but encourages us to allow them to pass through us without becoming entangled in them. We can honor our emotions without allowing them to control us. One of the benefits of this approach is emotional resilience. When we understand that emotions are not permanent, we are less likely to be overwhelmed by them. We become more adaptable in the face of difficult emotions, knowing that they will eventually subside. This resilience enables us to navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease and grace, as we no longer see emotions as obstacles, but as temporary experiences that will ultimately pass. Emotions are not to be feared or avoided, but rather they are to be experienced and understood. When we view them as temporary visitors, we develop a sense of detachment that allows us to respond to them in a balanced way. This detachment is not about indifference, but about recognizing that we are not our emotions. By cultivating this awareness, we give ourselves the freedom to experience life more fully, without being controlled by our feelings. Ultimately, the practice of seeing emotions as temporary visitors is a path to emotional liberation. It teaches us to live in harmony with the flow of life, accepting both the pleasant and unpleasant emotions that arise without clinging to them or pushing them away. In doing so, we cultivate a deeper sense of inner peace and resilience, knowing that every emotion, no matter how intense, is simply passing through. Letting go of control is one of the most liberating practices we can embrace in life. We live in a world that often pressures us to manage every aspect of our existence, from our personal relationships to our careers and even our emotions. This illusion of control creates an immense amount of stress and tension within us. We begin to believe that if we don't maintain strict control over every situation, everything will fall apart. But in reality, the more we try to control, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. Life is inherently unpredictable, and no matter how hard we try to control every outcome, we cannot control the forces of nature, other people's actions, or even our own emotions at times. By accepting this truth, we release the burden of needing to control everything and allow life to unfold in its own rhythm. It is in this surrender that we find peace. Letting go of control is not about giving up or being passive. It's about trusting the process of life and allowing things to happen as they are meant to, rather than forcing them into a mold of our own making. When we let go of control, we allow ourselves to be more present in the moment. We stop worrying about what will happen next or how things will turn out. Instead, we focus on what is happening right now. This shift in focus creates a sense of freedom, as we no longer tie ourselves to the anxiety of trying to predict or manipulate future events. By embracing the present moment, we can experience life more fully, without the constant weight of control hanging over us. Letting go of control also allows us to cultivate a deeper sense of trust in ourselves and in the universe. We recognize that we are not alone in our journey. There is a greater force at work guiding us, and it does not require us to micromanage every detail. By trusting that life is unfolding in the best way possible for our growth and development, we are able to relax into the flow of life and embrace its mysteries. The act of letting go of control does not mean abandoning responsibility or taking a passive approach to life. It simply means that we stop trying to force specific outcomes and instead respond to life with openness and adaptability. We still take action when needed, but we do so with the understanding that the results may not always align with our expectations. This acceptance creates a sense of peace, as we no longer feel the need to control every aspect of our lives. One of the most powerful ways to practice letting go of control is through surrendering our attachment to outcomes. When we let go of rigid expectations about how things should unfold, we open ourselves to the possibility of something even better than we imagined. Often the things we think we need or want are not aligned with our true path. By releasing control, we make space for the universe to bring us what is truly best for us, even if it doesn't match our initial vision. Letting go of control also means acknowledging our limitations. There are many things beyond our capacity to influence or change. Accepting that we cannot control every aspect of our lives allows us to find peace with the uncertainties and challenges we face. Instead of feeling defeated or frustrated by what we cannot change, we learn to embrace it as part of the process of growth and transformation. We understand that the moments of uncertainty hold valuable lessons and opportunities for learning. In relationships, letting go of control can lead to deeper, more authentic connections. When we stop trying to control how others behave or how the relationship unfolds, we allow ourselves and others the freedom to be true to who we are. This creates space for mutual respect and understanding. Relationships that are based on trust and acceptance are far more fulfilling than those built on the need for control or manipulation. The process of letting go of control can be uncomfortable at first, as it requires a shift in mindset and a willingness to face uncertainty. But it is through this discomfort that we grow and evolve. Every time we release our need for control, we create an opportunity for new experiences, new perspectives, and new possibilities. This process of surrender is not a one-time event, but a continual practice, one that deepens over time as we learn to trust more fully in ourselves and in the flow of life. Ultimately, letting go of control is an act of self-liberation. It frees us from the constant pressure of needing to have everything figured out. It allows us to step into the flow of life with openness, trust, and acceptance. By embracing the unknown, we create space for the magic of life to unfold in ways that we never could have imagined, leading us to greater peace, joy, and fulfillment. Acceptance is often misunderstood as passivity or weakness. However, in truth, it is one of the most powerful forces we can embody. The act of accepting the circumstances, people, and situations around us does not mean that we approve of or condone them. It simply means that we stop resisting what is. In this acceptance, we find strength. It is a strength born of resilience, of the ability to face life's challenges head-on without being overwhelmed by them. The strength in acceptance comes from the recognition that we cannot change everything. Life is full of events, people, and circumstances that are beyond our control. Whether it's an unexpected setback, a difficult relationship, or the unpredictability of life itself, we cannot always dictate what happens to us. However, what we can control is our response. When we accept what is, we stop fighting against the current and instead we move with it, finding our balance and our power within the situation. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means embracing reality as it is without denial or judgment. When we resist what is happening, we create an inner conflict. This conflict drains our energy and clouds our ability to think clearly and act effectively. By accepting things as they are, we free ourselves from this inner struggle. We stop wasting our energy on things we cannot change and begin to focus on how we can adapt and grow within the situation. When we accept ourselves, flaws and all, we unlock a new level of self-compassion. Instead of beating ourselves up for perceived shortcomings or mistakes, we acknowledge them and understand that they are part of our human experience. In this acceptance we find peace, knowing that we are enough just as we are. This peace allows us to move forward with confidence and clarity, knowing that we are worthy of love, respect, and success despite our imperfections. In relationships, acceptance fosters understanding and compassion. When we accept others as they are without the need to change or control them, we create space for authentic connections. Acceptance does not mean tolerating toxic behavior or putting up with disrespect. It means recognizing the inherent value of another person, regardless of their flaws or differences. When we stop trying to mold others to fit our expectations, we open the door to deeper, more meaningful relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. Acceptance also enables us to navigate difficult situations with grace. When faced with adversity, the natural reaction is often to fight or flee. However, fighting against a situation often leads to frustration and burnout. By accepting what is happening, we allow ourselves to process the situation without being consumed by it. This acceptance helps us to remain calm, make thoughtful decisions, and take action that is aligned with our values and goals, rather than reacting impulsively out of fear or resistance. In the pursuit of personal growth, acceptance plays a crucial role. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to be perfect, or that we must constantly improve ourselves. While growth and improvement are important, it's equally vital to accept where we are on our journey. When we accept ourselves in the present moment, we create a solid foundation from which to grow. This acceptance does not mean complacency, rather, it provides the space and freedom to evolve at our own pace. Acceptance is also a powerful tool in overcoming fear. Fear often arises from our resistance to the unknown, our unwillingness to face reality as it is. By accepting uncertainty, we release the grip that fear has on us. We acknowledge that life is unpredictable and that we cannot control every outcome. But in this acceptance, we discover a sense of peace. Fear loses its power when we stop fighting against it and start embracing the present moment with all its uncertainties. The strength of acceptance grows over time as we learn to trust ourselves in the process of life. Each time we face a challenge and choose to accept it, we build resilience. We become more adaptable, more capable of handling whatever life throws our way. Acceptance, far from being a sign of weakness, is a demonstration of our inner strength, our ability to endure, and our capacity to find peace amidst chaos. It is the foundation upon which we can build a life of authenticity, fulfillment, and growth. Trust is one of the most liberating forces in the human experience. When we trust life, we let go of the need for control and embrace the uncertainty that comes with living. Many of us spend our lives trying to control every aspect of our existence, from our careers to our relationships to the way we experience each day. However, the truth is that life cannot be controlled, and the more we try to do so, the more we set ourselves up for frustration and disappointment. Trusting life means letting go of this false sense of control and allowing ourselves to be carried by the flow of existence. Trusting life is not about blindly accepting every circumstance or situation without question. It is about recognizing that, despite the challenges we face, there is a larger process at work. Life, in its mysterious and often unpredictable way, unfolds in a manner that is beyond our comprehension. When we trust in this process, we surrender to it, knowing that whatever happens, we are capable of handling it. This trust allows us to experience life with less fear and anxiety as we stop trying to predict or control outcomes. There is a profound sense of freedom that comes with trusting life. When we relinquish the need for certainty and security, we open ourselves up to the richness and depth of experience. Life becomes a series of unfolding moments, each one offering us an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to evolve. In this way, trusting life is an act of courage. It is the courage to step into the unknown, to face the unexpected, and to embrace what comes our way, even when it challenges us. In order to trust life, we must first learn to trust ourselves. Trusting in our own abilities, instincts, and resilience is a fundamental aspect of trusting the larger process of life. We often doubt ourselves, especially when things don't go as planned. However, when we trust in ourselves, we recognize that we are not defined by our successes or failures. We are defined by our ability to navigate the ups and downs, to learn from them, and to keep moving forward with confidence. The freedom of trusting life also involves letting go of expectations. When we have rigid expectations about how things should unfold, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Life rarely goes according to our plans, and when we hold on too tightly to an idealized version of reality, we miss out on the beauty and spontaneity of the present moment. Trusting life means releasing these expectations and allowing ourselves to be open to whatever arises. This openness allows us to see opportunities and possibilities that we might otherwise overlook. Trusting life also means accepting that we cannot predict every outcome. Life is inherently uncertain, and trying to foresee every twist and turn only leads to anxiety. When we trust life, we stop trying to control the future and instead focus on making the most of the present moment. We recognize that even in uncertainty, there is beauty and potential. This mindset shifts our focus from what might go wrong to what might go right, and it frees us from the heavy burden of constant worry. One of the greatest gifts of trusting life is the peace it brings. When we let go of the need for certainty and control, we create space for inner peace to emerge. Trusting life means trusting in the inherent wisdom of the universe, in the understanding that everything is unfolding as it should. This peace comes not from a lack of challenges, but from the acceptance that challenges are a natural part of life. By trusting life, we stop fighting against the inevitable and instead find peace in embracing it. Trusting life also deepens our connection to others. When we trust life, we begin to trust the people around us more fully. We recognize that each person we encounter is part of the larger tapestry of existence, and we allow ourselves to open up to them without fear or judgment. This trust fosters deeper relationships, built on mutual respect and understanding, where both individuals feel safe to be vulnerable and authentic. Finally, the freedom of trusting life is the freedom to experience joy. When we let go of control, we allow ourselves to experience life in its fullness, with all its highs and lows. Trusting life means being present for the moments of joy, laughter, and connection that arise naturally when we are open to them. It is in these moments that we truly experience the richness of existence and feel most alive. By trusting life, we unlock the potential for a life that is not limited by fear or doubt, but instead is driven by openness, curiosity, and the willingness to embrace whatever comes our way. Freedom begins the moment you stop identifying with the voice in your head and start observing it. By letting go of the need for control and embracing life's flow, you find a profound peace that cannot be disturbed. The key to clarity, serenity, And fulfillment lies not in silencing the mind, but in no longer being its prisoner. Step into this freedom, and you'll discover the joy of simply being alive here and now.